Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing leadership and what that means for your salon and how to lead a team well, a team that follows you, looks up to you, and wants to get behind you. So stay tuned.
Salon owners are some of the most amazing people on planet Earth. The only problem is sometimes their hearts are so big and they give so much of themselves to their staff and guests that it creates unintended consequences. Our goal is to change the industry by elevating the way the rest of the world sees salons, spas, and barbershops and give it the credibility that it truly deserves. This is the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast.
Hello, welcome to Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Today I have Kayleena Meyers. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be talking about leadership in your salon. Kayleena is actually my leader. She leads our company here, High Performance Salon Academy. And we've been doing a lot of leadership training. And I was like, man, what would be a great thing is to bring you on the podcast and talk about leadership. So Kayleena, tell me about at what age or what time, when did you become a leader?
Okay, so I had a formulated answer, and then I think this morning I realized I was always a leader. Ooh. I was the one that always had an idea, a thought process. Something was always, I always wanted to help. Yeah. I think that it started as a cheerleader. I was the captain of the cheerleading squad.
Oh.
Right. But realistically, that was my first chance to actually make change and help the people around me.
And see the progress.
Yeah. So that's when it first started.
Wow.
And then I think I actually got my feet wet in my early 30s, where I actually got to start leading groups and teams of people. And then it was game over from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you became the cheerleading leader, before you became the leader at the cheerleader, did you want to be a leader?
Yeah, I wanted to boss everyone around.
Nice.
But my motivation was different back then. My motivation before was because I think I wanted to be seen as a leader. Mm. And then once I became a leader, it wasn't about being seen as a leader. It was actually the impact you had as a leader.
Dang. Wow. Yeah. You said something the other day about how you really have stepped into what it means to be a leader in the last year.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. So I wanted to know when you became a leader, did you think you were a good one?
Yeah, I thought I was the shit.
Nice.
Yes.
Were you?
I was kind. I was fair. I think I had all the foundations of a good leader, but I was very much level 1, which means they had to follow me because I had the title.
Nice. Oh, title. See, that's just because you have the title doesn't mean people are wanting to follow you. If you are a leader in your salon, you think from a scale of 1 to 10, put in the chat if you think you're a 10 leader or a 1 leader, or if you think I'm a good leader, but I can always learn more. You can put that in there too. So I want to know, as a leader, what has been your biggest inspiration? As you've grown over time, I mean, you've been a leader for a couple of years now, quite a few years. Yeah. And so what has been your biggest inspiration?
Okay. I have a couple.
Nice.
So I would say my personal inspiration was my dad. My dad was the one that employed me out of college.
Oh, wow.
He taught me the foundation. He taught me to be kind, to be fair, the things I'd spoken about before, but more than anything, just to walk with integrity.
Dang.
Nobody wants to lead you if you are a poor human being.
Wow.
So really just having the integrity, doing what you say you're going to do, following through meant everything to my dad. I would say that from a professional aspect, I did have a boss who was very, very hard on me, and she scared me. And she taught me I didn't want to lead like her, but she also believed in me in a way that nobody else had. So I've learned from what to do and what not to do.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. Because I think that with being a leader, it all comes with experience. Wherever you're starting, wherever you are as a leader of your own salon, as you're starting out, you're always going to be somewhere and you always can improve. And it's who are you looking to? How are you self-improving? So I want to ask you some questions, as we're talking about leadership, as you've evolved as a leader, and kind of some questions that I've seen you elude very well as a leader. And so I want to ask, how do you approach decision making in your leadership role? How do you approach the way you make decisions?
Okay, this has been a huge one for us. Nice. So I know you already know the answer to this, but this has been a big one. I think most organizations get stuck in doing things the way that they've always done it, number 1, or number 2, how would my boss do it?
Nice.
There's 2 problems with that. If it is, why have we done what we've done in the past? That could have been solving a problem that's not a problem anymore.
Wow.
Okay. Number 2 is, say you're trying to make decisions like me. I changed my mind. I'm a human being. I have fluid thought processes and emotions. So that is not a good structure. So here in our organization, we've started something that is very much an outcome-based decision-making, which means we define the problem, we define the outcome or the goal, and then we reverse engineer it backwards. Because it doesn't matter really how you get there as long as there is, moral and ethical boundaries.
Yeah.
Let me be clear about that. But it's really about like understanding what the true problem is, where the real fire is, like what's the source of the fire, and then where do we want to go? Like what is the ultimate goal? And I think we also have a code of honor here that we're very, very, very proud of, which tells us as a team how to conduct ourselves. So between understanding where you are and where you want to go and having a code of honor, I don't know if it matters how you get there.
Dang. Wow, that's huge. I love how and when in those times of making decisions, like there's a part of making sure everybody's on the same page and having the organized place to make sure that we all are setting clear boundaries, the handoffs are clear, expectations are clear. Like that's the kind of meetings that we have consistently to make sure that what is being done is being effective. Now in your salon, as you have leaders who are leading the team, like it's definitely going to look differently as what it looks for our company because our company is different.
Yep.
But when it comes down to people making decisions, you want to make sure that you have buy-in, that you make sure that you have people you are setting the stage to make sure that people have a chance to get to know you. And one thing I know with Kayleena is she models behavior constantly. She models the behavior she expects from others, which I think is really huge.
Thank you.
You were so welcome.
Thank you. And I did think of an example. I don't know if you mind if I bring this up.
Please.
Okay, so let's take something simple. You had brought that magazine.
Yes.
Advertisement. Mm-hmm. What are we calling that?
Yeah. So we are running an ad in a magazine. So I'm building an ad, or not an ad, but I'm building a page of what our company is about for a magazine.
Yeah. And you brought it to me and you're like, what do you think of this? And I was like, okay, well, what's the outcome?
Yeah.
And you were like, the outcome is that we would love to drive business.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, well, how do we drive business, right? And your answer was, well, they need to know who we are and how to get a hold of us.
Nice.
So right there, it's like we defined, you're like, please look at this. The outcome is we know what that is. We've defined it. And then now I don't really necessarily care how you get there as long as you get there. Yeah. And that gives you the power.
It gives me confidence.
Then you're not worried about what would Kayleena think or how would Kayleena act. You get to move as Kayla.
Yeah.
And finding who Kayla is so important.
Because you're not trying to build up a bunch of robots. You're trying to build up individuals to take ownership and power. Yes. And you are the leader of those people to be able to guide them to make the decisions and have confidence in those decisions.
Yeah.
That's huge. I know that's helpful for me to be able to have confidence in what I'm doing. And it's taken me a while to get there, to be able to have confidence in making decisions. But everybody on your team needs to get to a place where they feel confident making decisions. And if your team, if your team doesn't feel confident making decisions, comment not confident, because that is a reflection of you as a leader. If your team isn't confident in who they are as people, it really is a reflection of you because you haven't given them that power to be able to make decisions. They're looking to you, be like, and for a while, to be honest, I was constantly looking at Kayleena like, tell me what to do. Tell me how to do this. And I needed validation because I didn't feel.
It was a reflection of me. I mean, truly, like, I have no ego in leading. And I spent the first year with you guys just trying to field and make all the decisions. Yeah. And it's like also when people need you for decisions, you can either choose that it's validation that you're important, but it's also draining you.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we teach people how to fish? How do we equip them to not only make the decisions, but also eventually replace themselves in their seats and keep growing too?
Yeah, because you want to keep growing.
It's freedom. Decision making is freedom for everybody.
That. I love that a lot. So talk to me a little about your approach to delegation and empowering your team members. We talked about giving, again, kind of smoothing into that. So how do you empower and delegate to your team?
Okay. Delegation.
Nice.
Delegation is a very, very tricky one because I've always been told if it stays on your list for longer than a week, you need to delegate it.
Oh, wow.
But delegation is a tricky process of balance between understanding your team's capacity and also knowing when it's go time. And this is what I'm going to say. We've had times in the organization where I call it like a winter season where everyone is just doing the best they can. They're grinding. You might not be able to delegate to everyone all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. You need to know your team's capacity. You will break your team if you over delegate to them.
Wow.
Once you come into a season like we are of spring and summer where we have people and we have the capacity, delegation is absolutely empowering because huge. One, it takes it off your plate.
Oh yeah.
So you can do more things, but two, it allows them to start again, making decisions, which empowers them.
Yeah. Because they're already overwhelmed and and that's what comes with knowing your team and knowing what's their capacity. I know all this because you have led well and you know us well, when we're struggling and there's times when we come into a meeting and we're supposed to talk about business, but you're just okay, we put the computer down and we're no, let's talk about you. And so our personal lives and what we're going on, and then you grow us through that to wherever we're going through, you meet us where we're at, and then what can go on our plate and what can't. And sometimes it's also having the confidence to be able to say that's a not all right now project, that's a future project. project, which is also a really important part, that it's maybe this is a business, like you have to weigh like, okay, can my team handle this or can they not? Maybe it's a future project.
Yeah. And I think that you did hit on something. You have to know your team. And I don't mean you have to know your team, like know all of their struggles and everything bad going on. But if you don't know your team, you don't know if they're cool, if they're okay. And like, I've been very clear that one of my biggest, I won't say regrets because I can't regret it, but one of my biggest struggles and what I've had to overcome is being a good role model and taking care of myself personally. And so if I'm not taking care of myself, I guarantee the people I'm leading are not taking care of themselves. And if I'm not checking in on them to get a gauge on what is going on, I don't know if they're taking care of themselves. So again, there's a fine line between being too personal, being busy. I definitely don't get off on conflict or anything like that, but I have to have, like, I need to know from you as Kayla, who runs a lot of different things around here, like that you're good. Are you balanced? Like, are you taking care of yourself? Because you will never last on a high performing job if you're not taking care of yourself. And
I also love that with that knowledge comes you, okay, how do we get you there? And you're ready to jump in and be support. And if you are listening and you're like, man, like I want to ask you, do you know your staff? And if you're like, yeah, I do, I want to challenge you to ask yourself again, do you actually know your staff and what they're going through, what their capacity are, what their home life is like? How are their, are they able to pay their bills? Like there's things that matter to them. Like, and do you know them to what matters to them, not what you care to know about them?
And do you know their currency? Like you just brought up a really good point. Your currency, what means the most to you is different than another team member. So knowing your team's currency is so important. Mine is time, number one.
Wow.
And flexibility, because I have a 10-year-old son, and that is different than say yours or the next person. So knowing your team's currency, knowing their communication style. I mean, we have a very robust communication profile that basically says, do these things with Kayla. Don't do these things with Kayla. Kayla's preferred method of communication is this, in urgent matters, in non-urgent matters. Your love language, like just knowing, like, I know that like, if I need to give you like a pat on the back, I'm not going to love you the way I need to love. Like I want to be loved. I'm going to go look at your communication profile, see what it says, and give you words of affirmation, or put like a little Hershey's kiss on your desk, like figuring out what that means. That's knowing your people. It's not knowing when they're having a bad day or their dog poops on the carpet. Like it is that too, but it's really genuinely about knowing how they tick. So that like we're all ticking together, because we have all been rowing in different boats at times. And it's chaotic. It's not worth it.
I love that because, in your salon, like I know it's a different environment. Like we have our business environment, and then but you still are running a business with people who spend 100%. Day to day with each other too. Yeah. And not only does it model like how to build our relationship, but it's also modeling for us to have a relationship with each other. And if we're all cared for and focusing on ourselves and moving towards that, then it's easier to relate with other people on my team who is also, in the same boat that I am, and we're all being led the same way, whether we're in a lead position or not. So we're going to take a commercial break. Such good stuff. I'm like super invested. I was like, I almost forgot to take commercial. So we're going to take a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what it means to start building yourself as a leader and how to improve and how to just take those steps. So stay tuned and we'll see you after the commercial break.
Hey, HPSA listeners, let me ask you this. Are you tired of not knowing what your hair color is costing you on every appointment and watching it chew up your profit? Well, with Salon Scale, we take the guesswork out for you. Using a mobile app paired with a Bluetooth scale, Salon Scale will tell you exactly what your color is costing you on every bowl mix down to the gram. As you mix, Salon Scale will also digitally store your formulas and track how much product is being used in real time, so you can manage your inventory, cover your expenses, and generate more profit in your salon. Use promo code HPSA10 to get 10% off an annual subscription. Salon Scale, the new standard for mixing color.
Welcome back to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Again, I have Kayleena Meyers with me. We've been having some great discussion about what it means to be a leader and what that has looked like for me as the person being leaded. And so now we're going to start transitioning into kind of what that looks like to you are here and you've heard some good things, hopefully, and be like, okay, so how do I improve myself as a leader? Because we're not here to say you're not being a good leader. We're just here to give you concepts to think about and things to it's always good to self-reflect. And if you are a salon owner or you're any kind of business owner, whoever is listening, if you have a team underneath you, taking care of them is very important. So,
and can I say something off that really fast?
Please.
Piggyback? In our team meeting, which I think team meetings are incredibly important for culture. We could go into that at some point too. I said that leadership is for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're leading a team, an organization. It doesn't matter if you're leading at home, in a church, on the basketball court. Like, you are a leader somewhere. Yeah. So this is applicable to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. Even if you're, the stylist is a leader, they're leading their job too. Like, it's not like
1,000%.
You lead your projects, your job, your position, things like that. So I love that. Okay. Yeah. So in your opinion, what is a good starting place to develop yourself as a leader?
Okay. The lucky thing is there's a million resources.
Nice.
Like this podcast. But I would honestly say start with podcasts. Podcasts are free.
Listen.
They're easily accessible, and you can multitask while you're doing it. You don't even have to fully commit.
That's so true.
I clean my toilet listening to podcasts. When Roman was little, my little boy was little, he would sit there watching his cartoon and I'd have like one ear in. You know what I mean? So it's a minimal, there is no reason not to, I guess, at that point. And then it goes into, once you open a podcast. Can you open a podcast?
Sure. Yeah. Turn it on.
Turn it on. You open that thing.
Find one.
Yeah. Once you play one, then you're connected to another person. Nice. And then you're going to hear an author. Then you're going to watch a YouTube video. Then you're going to buy a book. And then you're going to buy a training. And then you're going to have conversations. And then before you know it, you are just going to be so engulfed with it. I haven't met anyone yet that once we started talking about leadership and dove in at some capacity, they weren't just so empowered either to affect somebody else or just to create change for themselves. And to be clear, that is what leadership is. It is about serving and affecting other people. It has nothing to do with you.
So you're saying like start someplace, like find something to feed into that, like feed into your mind.
Yeah.
Because like whether, you may find people that like, oh, I already knew that. Or you may find people like, oh, I don't resonate with that. And that's okay. There's nobody's out there saying you need to do this. You choose something and you just search for something that resonates with you and just start. And if you need to turn it off and choose something else, that's totally fine. Yeah. So I love that. Just have that constant feeding to your brain of what you could like look like and what you could improve on as. I love that a lot. What has been your favorite resource? Like what has been your biggest thing that you have loved?
Well, John C. Maxwell, if you're out there. No, I do. All joking aside, everyone that's around me knows John C. Maxwell is my favorite author. He has 1 million books out. I think there's more like 70 or 80. I've read about 20 of them. Every single book I have come in contact, piece of YouTube video material, he embodies what it means to serve others. And he believes that everything begins and falls on leadership. And what he means by that is it doesn't matter how good your offering is, how good your services are, for longevity of business purposes, you better lead well because you need to be able to grow your business and your team at the same time because you're investing in people. And I think what people forget is, like, for instance, you devote a massive part of your life to this organization. Yeah. This is your organization too. So it's like, how dare I not figure out a way for you to grow? Yeah. But your growth stops at my growth.
Wow.
So like the first law we learned in our leadership training, this last one, was the law of the lid, which means your capacity to grow most likely will stop at mine.
Wow.
And that's a jacked up thing, you guys, to realize. When I was looking to grow our team, it's like, it starts with me. Yeah. But that's incredible. And it's a responsibility that I'm happy to have.
Willing to take on. That's huge. And if you are like, you're a salon owner and you feel like your team's kind of all over the place and you're like, well, there's drama, there's this, there's that, like it really is like a reflection. And, talking with Jason, there's always love punches, it's a reflection of who you are and the growth you are doing as a person. And if you're overwhelmed or if you are struggling with just the business part, and you're like, I don't even know how to touch leadership, I'm struggling with my business, then get support in your business, because your leadership and your team is not going to be able to grow to the healthiness that it's at unless you feel like you're healthy as a person.
Yeah. And I think it's also like, it's such a blessing. To know that you can affect other people is the most fulfilling thing possible.
I want to say something because it just came to my mind. It was really good. So, and if you feel like that you are not a good person if you were the salon owner and you're like, man, I'm not really good at leading the people, that it's okay to say, I am not the person that these people need. And then to hire that person to come in and lead the people.
Hell yeah.
Leadership is not necessarily for everybody, or you, again, lead in different ways. And so to be able to say, listen, I don't think I'm the best leader to lead them. And then you hire somebody to come in for that.
Absolutely, because we all have our sweet spots. Like for me, I'm very clear that my sweet spot is people and processes.
Wow.
Those are my jams. I'm very like, what's the next step? Like, to my fault at times. My superpower is my kryptonite. but I love people. I genuinely love the process of people. And to be really clear, there is no business without people, which means there is no customers and clients without people. There is no business without the people that run your business. Yeah. So find a way to fall in love with your people.
Ooh. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so I want to go talk about like what to use, like what's the effects of not leading well? Because if like, what if people would be like, I don't know, like, or they don't make it a priority? What's the effects of not leading well?
Well, I can tell you what the effects of me not leading well
nice.
Has been. Let's bring it to me. I think the effects of not leading well is you stop seeing forward momentum. Mm-hmm. Your efficiencies are down. The engagement of your employees is low. Wow. Which means they're there to punch in and punch out. Yeah. They're not coming up with new ideas, because new ideas breed ownership. I would say that exhaustion takes over, and people leave. And I've seen it, and it's been at my expense because I've done it in the past. Yeah. And realizing the investment again of people in business is people. Once you realize that the investment is there first, everything else starts to come into play. I mean, I literally can see it happening once we start moving. Our momentum. It's like the big mo we talked about. Like once you hit momentum, you guys don't stop. Once you see something working, don't stop. If you see feeding into somebody is working, don't stop. But feed into the 20% of people that are killing it for you, not the 80% that are sucking the life out of you. Wow. The 80% need to probably go. The 20% are the ones that deserve to keep moving forward.
Nice. I love that. Jason always says that people will leave you when they stop seeing a future in you and your salon.
Yeah, they do.
And so if they feel like, okay, I'm not growing here, nothing is bringing life into me here, then it's time to move on. Now when people feel that way and they don't move on, that is what's creating a toxic environment. Yeah. So, okay, I have one last question for you. Do you believe it's too late to become a leader?
Never.
Nice.
No, because it's the most exciting thing ever. And I would say that because it's my jam.
Yeah, right.
But no, I mean, you could wake up tomorrow and just decide, I want better for myself and I want better for the people around me. No, it is never too late. You will never regret it. I don't think there will ever be a person that led people on their deathbed and said, gosh, I wish I hadn't invested so much time in those people. Yeah. I think if anything, people that didn't will be like, wow, that's what I wish I would have grown more.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So if you're listening to this, and again, like if you were like, man, that sounds like great, but that's not my jam. Like, as you can see, Kayleena is very passionate about leading us. That's why I was so excited to have her on here. We've had lots of conversations. Yeah. I'm very passionate. I want to lead people too. And so that's been a huge inspiration to me. But if you're like, no, not me, I don't do the people thing. It's okay. It's okay. We all have a place in our business to bring something to the table. And if people are not your thing, then just
find someone that it is.
And just we want you to recognize that if your business isn't doing well, or if you feel like it's plateauing, like we talked about last episode about your business plateauing, look inward, look at yourself and look at your team and see how healthy they are, because you may see, and what they show you may not even be what's really going on. And so if you look at your team, you're like, wow, I don't really know them. I would encourage you to talk to them, spend one-on-one time meetings with them, give them your attention and your energy, because that matters. And just start somewhere. Open a podcast. You listen to this podcast, so hey, you've already started.
Halfway there.
Anyway, thank you so much, Kayleena, for jumping on with us and talking. I hope you guys learned something. If you did learn something, I would love if you put in the chat what stood out to you the most. Hopefully it was the love punches, and hope you heard those with love. But yeah, you're doing great, and I hope you have a good rest of your week. Thank you for joining us on this week's Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Kayleena, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and check us out at profitablesalon.com for more episodes, content, and to help you turn your salon into the business you've always dreamt of.
I'm so invested in this conversation.
We getting somewhere?
Yeah, I don't even know.
I know. Okay.
I'm so present to what we're talking about. I don't know what's being talked about.
Mark, cut that out.
Yeah. Or, make a little
Or
reel.
keep it in.
Yeah, make a little reel. Compliments to Kayla.